Hello, and welcome to today's history lesson. Today, we're going to be talking about the First Opium War. Do you remember when we talked about Qianlong? He was the emperor who made the complete library in the 4 branches of literature. Anyway, Qian's later years were not nearly as impressive as his earlier ones. China was falling apart, nearing its downfall. Because of his old age, the emperor gave more and more responsibility to his favored officer. This officer was named Hoshen. Qian practically gave Hoshen all of the power. Unfortunately, Hoshen did not use that power for the good of China. Instead, he was very greedy and used it for his own self-aggrandizement. He enticed people and compelled them to pay him lots of money. Many people despised Hoshen. They knew that he was a deceiver. However, Qian refused to listen to the complaints of his people. After Qian had been emperor for nearly 60 years, he decided to step down and let his son become emperor. His 5th son was crowned, but Qian still acted as though he was the emperor. When he was 87, former emperor Qianlong passed away. As soon as he died, his son wasted no time in arresting his father's friend, Hoshen. He told Hoshen that he would not kill him because his father had loved him so much. Instead, Hoshen would kill himself. While it was good that Hoshen was gone, his corrupt and messed up empire was still there. China's treasury was nearly empty. Poor Chinese peasants were forced to pay high taxes to the officials. The officials used this money for their own comfort and pleasure. Qian's son did his best to fix what Hoshen had messed up, but he was unable to do so. The emperor was the most hated emperor ever by the time he died. His heir was named Tao Kun. Unfortunately for him, he inherited a lousy empire. Tao Kun noticed that the Yellow River's dikes must be repaired. But with no money in the treasury, what was he supposed to do? He sacrificed his money for food and clothes to build the dikes. While this sounds pretty bad, the poor emperor had an even bigger problem. You see, there was this illegal drug called opium. Even though it was illegal, many Chinese were addicted to it. 18,000 boxes of opium made its way to China every year. People had to sneak it in though. Pirates and even the British brought this horrible drug to China. A man named William Jardine paid a bunch of men to do that very thing. Smuggle opium into China. The Chinese citizens paid bucket loads of silver coins for opium. It got so out of hand that one of the emperor's officers told the emperor that it might just be smarter to allow opium in China. That way they could grow it themselves and not give all of their money to the British. But Tao Kun refused. He hated the drug. Tao Kun turned to his favorite official, whose nickname was Blue Sky, because he supposedly was as pure and honest as the sky on a cloudless summer day. The emperor ordered Blue Sky to find and capture the opium merchants and dealers. Blue Sky went into action immediately. Right off the bat, he had about 60 merchants imprisoned. Blue Sky knew that if he wanted to get rid of opium once and for all, he had to prevent the British from coming and selling it. He went to one of the Chinese ports and sent messages to ships that were nearby. The message said that the Chinese would no longer trade with the British until they handed over every last chest of opium. If they were ever caught selling it, they would immediately be put to death. The merchants argued over what they were going to do all night long. They woke up to a not-so-pleasant surprise. They found that the message Blue Sky had sent to them was posted on every ship. And to top it off, thousands of Chinese soldiers were ready to shoot arrows at any one of the British merchants who refused to give up their opium. The merchants took no time in handing over all of their opium, 20,000 boxes. Blue Sky then set to work dissolving all the opium in water-filled ditches. It took 3 weeks to do this. In England, the government was not too happy about what China had done. They thought that they should be able to sell whatever they wanted to sell whenever they wanted to. So they decided to declare war on China. They sailed into China with their gigantic warships. You see, Britain had a very advanced navy, and China had no navy to speak of. The British had very fast-moving ships that were heavily armed. The Chinese junks were no match for them. The Chinese strength was their forts, but the British captured fort after fort because of their better equipped navy. Finally, the Chinese couldn't take it any longer, and they signed a treaty that allowed England to sell whatever they wanted to. This happened in August 1842, and to make matters worse, China was forced to pay millions of dollars for the opium they had destroyed, and they had to build 5 new ports so the British could sell even more opium. As you can see, it did not end well for China. Not everyone in England approved of what happened in China. The future British Prime Minister, William Gladstone, denounced the wars and the selling of opium to China. He told Parliament that he was, quote, in dread of the judgments of God upon England for our national iniquity towards China. That wraps up our presentation on the First Opium War. See you next time.